Okay, so yeah, The Road is directed by John Hillcoat, who the Australian director who did The Proposition, and this is his follow-up to that. It's based on another novel written by Cormac McCarthy, who is famous for writing No Country for Old Men. And this is even darker than No Country for Old Men, and a lot darker than Wolfman, or probably any movie I can think of in a while. This is a pitch black, dark movie, and it's about Vigo Mortenson, who plays a father who is trying to keep his son alive after a post-apocalyptic. They don't exactly say what the apocalypse was, but you gather there's probably nuclear fallout, nuclear winter. As all of the trees are starting to uproot and fall, and there's no more life. Humans are barely hanging on there. And because of it, Cormac McCarthy's vision of the future is that it's every man for himself, and most people under these kinds of extreme circumstances are not going to be pleasant. No. Humans are resulting into cannibalism, into stealing, into just killing each other to survive. And you can't even really blame the human population for its behavior because the conditions are so bad. But Vigo, he wants to hold on to his humanity, and he wants to be a good role model for his son, to show him what it is to be human and to not to result to these kinds of things. And he's trying to keep him alive as they go to the coast, on the New Jersey shore. And I thought this was one of the best / underlooked movies of the year. It didn't really get a wide release, and it wasn't. It kind of came out in a weird time of the year where it just kind of fell underneath the cracks of everything else that was coming out, and that's kind of a shame because the acting is awesome, the cinematography is beautiful, and it's really, really intense without trying too hard and without pushing the boundaries. Like you get the intensity through atmosphere, which I think is really impressive. And the score done by Nick Cave and Warren Ellis, who also scored The Proposition, is also really interesting and really beautiful too. So I gave this movie an A.
Nice. I was right up there with you. I read the book, so I knew what was going to happen, and I knew how the book is even darker than the movie. Like, the movie is the happy version of the book, which is...
How do you just not, like, shoot yourself in the middle of it?
It is real, but it follows the book really well, and I actually really enjoyed the fact that it did that. And I also like the idea that there's just so much despair, but all this hope is just left in these 1-2 people. Everything else is just horrible. And I also like the idea that there's not a lot of, there's shock value, which the book has shock value.
Yeah.
Like, even more so than just cannibalism is not where it stops. It's pretty intense. But they have a lot of scenes in there where there's a little bit of shock value, but for the most part, you're still kind of on edge of your seat.
Yeah.
And it's not just because it's scary, it's because there's just such intense emotion in the whole thing. And
exactly.
I don't like Vigo because of Lord of the Rings. I officially wrote him off after that.
Oh, but how could you?
Well, Eastern Promises wasn't that good, and neither was History of Violence.
I disagree with you.
Okay, that's another day. So I just kind of wrote him off, and this, I'm like, Vigo, you were back on the roster of coolness. It was just, he really pulled off this father figure, and I loved that part. And I'm also very into the post-apocalypse now. It's...
Oh, the world is.
Everybody's.
I think until 2012, we're going to see these post-apocalyptic movies getting more and more popular. And then I think after we survive 2012, they'll kind of wane a little bit.
We'll have maybe a bunch of survivor movies.
Yeah, exactly. What I thought was really interesting about this movie, and what I really liked about it, is that it was a realistic portrayal of the post-apocalypse. Unlike Mad Max or Doomsday, or any of these kinds of apocalypse movies where it's just like riding around on dune buggies with skeletons on the front, looking cool and stuff like that. This shows that this would not be a cool thing. This would actually really, really suck.
Yes.
And this is, I thought that was a really interesting portrayal of the apocalypse. Is just like realistically look at how bad this would be.
It does well. All right.